Probably pick a harder opponent.
What do I go to play?
How about just next bot?
I don't want a premium bot. No thanks. So new.
Oh, you have to. Yeah, just click new game then. Who's the one right below her?
He doesn't have any crown. Is that just means games I played against them?
Yeah.
Aaron is 700.
Yep. Let's do it. Choose.
I like the friendly. Okay.
King's pawn.
E4 is a book move.
King's head opening. Oh.
That's weird. Interesting. Muy interesante.
Yeah, so this king's head opening, the next move it wants you is to move out a knight and then a bishop. Oh no, knight, then a pawn, then a pawn.
So any night or a specific night or
I'm not telling you.
oh my
I just
God,
think I
what are
was
you
just
doing? You're just
repeating
looking up
the.
stuff and then you're like, you should, this is what this is
It's the book
called.
move.
You're a book move.
It did, however, think this book move was not good for you though, which is interesting.
Really?
Yeah, because it has you. This last move cost you 0.8 points.
Not a good move for me. So what is the point system? Is that just computer or is that just chess?
Yeah, it's just the way that the computer like tracks your potential win, basically.
Okay. Because it has to have some kind of numeric metric or
Sure.
oh. Is that just for poops and giggles?
I mean, I imagine it's more for professionals that are trying to get better.
Oh, right on. So like a certain move equates better a higher point tally.
Yeah.
Mm,
And it's all based on, all whatever the best moves are looking, 10 moves down the road.
right. Because that's how the computer plays, like 8 moves ahead, right?
Yeah.
Which isn't always good.
Well, it's not good for you. Mostly because it doesn't matter.
Oh, wanted me to move my queen's pawn?
The computer really likes playing
Pawn a pawn.
pawns together and then having someone take a pawn, doing pawn trades in like the first little bit.
Oh, I had an inaccuracy by moving my pawn. Bishop to c4. What? How would I move my bishop to c4? So this bishop to c4?
It's because you missed the best move.
Oh,
Because you played that pawn, but it wanted you to move the bishop. So instead of your D pawn moving up one, it wanted you to move the bishop over to B or to C4.
right. I see. Right, because now I really can't move my bishop anywhere. Right?
Yep.
Hmm. I wonder where he's going with that queen. D4. It still wants me to move that pawn out of the way.
Because it wants you to do a pawn trade, because it wants
Right.
you to open up the e-file. Still, not necessarily the best move, but
Well, no, because right now isn't my opening up the e-file is directly where his queen could be headed as well.
yeah.
I'm not going to do that. B4 is an inaccuracy. It really wants me to move that pawn.
Yep.
I don't want to. You can hose off. Not going to do it.
Oh, you got a fork opportunity going on.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I wish I could see the board the way you see the board.
It's because knights are very difficult to watch when you're new. Not his knight. The problem is that you're looking at his pieces. I'm not looking at his pieces.
Yeah. Well, because I can go, what, up to 2/1, but I can't do that because like he can only move here or here.
Yep.
So I don't understand the fork terminology. I
So a
get the
fork,
fork in a road.
so a fork is any point when you have one piece, one of your pieces, is threatening two of their pieces. So they have to make a choice.
Okay.
So for example, if you say had a knight sitting on c7, do you see c7? Look at c7, highlight c7.
That's a pawn.
Just humor me.
Okay.
For example, if you had a knight on c7, this is considered a fork. Technically, it's a three-way fork, because a knight in that position is threatening the king, so the king is in check.
Hmm.
It's also threatening the queen and a rook. And a knight in that position cannot be taken because there's nothing in that space.
Right.
So that's what's known as a fork, because it's forcing your opponent to choose. And at that point, it's actually not forcing your opponent to choose anything. You get a free queen out of it.
But that's not the case.
Not this turn.
But there's nowhere I can move right now to get to that point because if I
Not
move
this turn.
I don't know. Okay.
So what I'm telling you is to put your knight to d5. Because while knight to d5 is being threatened by the queen, it's also being protected by that pawn.
Pawn. Oh, okay, I didn't see the pawn. Or that other pawn. Okay.
This is what your pawns are doing at the very beginning. Oh, that's sneaky. That was an excellent defense to that. He saw it coming. But either way, it's still a good spot for your knight to be. This is a very interesting jump in difficulty.
It is.
Because the computer's actually doing what you're expecting it to do. Well, that I'm expecting it to do.
Mhm. Oh, touche. Oh, it just said that was an inaccuracy. It didn't want him to do that? The rook to a5, taking my
The
pawn.
things are not his plays, they are your plays.
Oh, so
The computer is not analyzing itself.
Oh. Well, why not? That would be helpful.
What did you play there?
What?
Not a rhetorical question.
No, it was already there. I moved.
No, what did you play?
What do you mean,
I
what
didn't
did I
see what you
play?
played. Not a rhetorical question. What piece did you move where?
I moved this pawn below the knight.
Okay. That was all I wanted to know.
What?
Oh.
What?
You keep saying what? I don't have an answer for you.
Well, then,
Did he take a pawn?
yes, he took a pawn with his rook.
Oh. Did you move that pawn to take a piece?
I had a pawn here. I moved it here to take a pawn.
So that was the move you did. You didn't move d pawn to
Oh,
d4.
well,
You
okay.
took
Yes,
the
I took the pawn, and he took it with.
a5 pawn. Okay.
It seems kind of silly though to take the pawn with a rook, right?
Why would that be silly?
I don't know, Jason. I thought
Because now he gets another. I mean, well, he doesn't really, but I mean, you take pieces with whatever you can
right.
that can't be threatened, and there's no drawback to him doing that. Like it doesn't like he could have taken it with a queen as long as it was open. Like it doesn't matter what you take pieces with. There's no such thing as a bad piece to use.
Hmm. So I could move my um I could move my rook up to a3. Does that kind of threaten anything? Does that kind of like stay him from taking that pawn? Not that it should necessarily matter. I was just thinking about shoring up this end of the board.
I mean, what advantage does that give you?
Keeps his, well, I don't know, because he can probably then take my rook on the next turn anyway, but my pawn is there. He can't. The only piece that can go through pawns is the knight, right?
Yeah.
And so if something is in the next space, he's not likely to take that pawn and he's just kind of stuck there. So the advantage is either forcing him to go back or keeping him there. At
Why would he
least
be forced to go back?
I don't, well, because what else is he gonna? He could take my knight. Wait, I can take him with my knight, can't I? No, I can't. But he could take my knight, right?
He could.
But then I could take him with my pawn,
Correct.
which would be silly.
Yeah, that would be a bad trade.
So that's what I was thinking was.
So I'm not sure so what's the difference between leaving your rook there and moving your rook to 3 in terms of defending your 4 pawn?
Oh, all right, because the rook could move any number of spaces, and I could just take his rook.
Yeah. So if he's dumb enough to take your pawn, like that's actually to your advantage.
Right.
If you're worried about that rook, you do have 2 pieces that could move to threaten it. Neither of which is your knight.
Well, I can move this bishop, right?
You could move that bishop.
Well, you said I have 2 pieces that I can move, and I can't move. I can move this bishop.
Yeah.
It was an inaccuracy.
I don't know why you moved him there. Because then he could have actually taken your pawn and would have had no repercussion.
Oh, right, because he can't move any. Because he can only
So
move.
when I talk about threatening, what I mean is moving a piece in such a way that the next turn it could take something.
Mm-hmm.
Where you just moved your bishop,
He can't do anything.
he can't do anything.
So I'm better off just moving him back.
I mean, if you want to. The other move you could have. So really, the move I wanted you to make was either bishop to d2 or queen to d2.
Hmm.
It wanted you to move bishop to
C4.
c4.
So all the way up here.
Interesting. Assumedly to back up your knight, but I don't know that your knight needed a whole lot of backup.
Mm-mm. Oh, damn it. Excuse my language. Stupid auto click.
Well, so don't. I know that you're sort of learning where the pieces go, but like this is something that you need to learn without seeing the blips, because every time you click on a piece, you run the risk of doing exactly what you just did, which is misclicking on one of the squares.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's a crappy feature. Like, why is that a feature?
It's probably an option you can turn off, but that would require you to actually go
Right?
into the options and see what the options are.
So sorry, Aaron. You had to hear that dastardly word. Just made up a word. Drasted is not a word. Dastardly is really what I wanted to say. That's a fantastic word.
Holy crap! There's nothing going on, dog.
Now, why is he moving his king and queen back?
The real question is, why do you need to know that?
Why not?
Because you don't know enough about chess and you can't look far enough ahead for it to matter. If you want to protect that pawn, you can protect it with either a knight or a queen.
It's now drastic. That's great. Dramatic and dastardly all at once. I think it's perfect. Well, he's not really moved any major pieces.
No.
What the H? You tell him, Zero. Somebody here?
Oh, the neighbors were here. I wonder if they're actually like moving stuff. Because that is not a truck I have seen before.
Is it a pickup?
Yeah.
It's been here before.
Well, that's not what I said.
Oh.
I said it was a vehicle I have not seen before. Not so much a question of being observant. It's mostly a question of giving a crap.
It's always the latter, Aaron. It's the latter.
Yeah.
Doesn't give
Correct.
a crap. You severely overestimate his ability to give a crap. Oh, right, I can only move. That's fine. We'll see what happens. That's an inaccuracy. Oh, castling is best.
I don't know why it's so obsessed with castling.
Divas craps are given out on special occasions. It's true.
I'm also not entirely sure why he just moved his rook back.
Right?
That was a strange move.
Do a little pawn trading, maybe. Like, what was that about? Just hopping around on his rook there?
I don't know, but it does mean now you got to go on a little pawn rampage. Getting 2 pawns for 1 is absolutely worth it.
Which way am I going? This way or this way?
I don't know that it matters. Depends on where you want to open up.
Where this way? Oh, that was an inaccuracy. And to e3 is best. Knight to e3. It wants me to move my knight over.
I don't know why it wants you to move your... It really wants you to pull your other knight back.
Oh, this guy?
Yeah.
I mean,
But I don't know that there's any strategic need to.
He's
pretty. I think he's doing a really good job of keeping your king and their queen sort of pinned down.
Oh no, stopped in my prime.
I would not do that though.
Oh, because that opens up the G file, and he could take my bishop with his rook.
Now would be an interesting time to castle kingside.
Okay.
Because it sets up your rook into the very open F file.
So I move my at that.
Yeah.
G5 is best. I want me to move pawn. So I could just sail up and take his bishop, right? Then he would definitely.
You could, but he already set up to protect with the queen.
Right.
But you've got him on the defense, and you got a ton of free pawns out of it. Oh.
Right.
Oh, and now your bishop is protected, so you could absolutely take that pawn if you wanted to.
Oh, this pawn?
Yeah.
That was a blunder,
Ooh,
Jason.
didn't like that.
How is that a blunder?
I think it just wanted you to keep that pawn locked down. It also wanted you to keep that pawn in that G file. I'm assuming just for protection.
Mm.
Hmm.
Well, I can move my knight into the G file for protection.
You could. But knights are almost always better offensive pieces.
Right.
Taking an awful lot of pawns compared to him.
He's only taken 2 pawns. And he's just moving that rook backwards and forwards, so I don't get that. Hmm. No bueno. Mm. Parts. I'm stuck.
It's not that you're stuck, it's that you're indecisive.
Well, I am.
There's a big difference.
Because whenever I just make a move, oh, like that seems like a good move, then it's not a good move.
Stop listening to the computer. What the computer thinks is irrelevant.
I'm not listening to the computer. I was thinking about moving my knight over here in this area
Hmm. Why?
to, I don't know. I don't know.
Because
I
you
mean,
like to see the horses jump, or what's the?
did are you patronizing me?
No, I'm just asking you why you wanted to make a move. I think it's a perfectly legitimate question.
Well, because I thought I just, protect the stuff over here.
With a knight?
I don't know. Why not a knight?
So if you move it to b4, who's he protecting?
This stuff over here.
Uh-huh. Technically correct.
So, what more is there?
Mhm.
Well, because I can't, what am I going to do in this situation? Because I'm trying to, the,
You got pawns to advance. You got bishops to move. You got rooks to move. You don't have to necessarily like.
see, it just said that was a mistake.
Yeah, so what did I just say about listening to the
Don't
computer?
listen to the computer.
Now that was not a good move or it was a great move. Boy, that was confusing. Oh no.
What?
Well, don't waste the opportunity.
So I should take the knight?
Yeah. What?
Why would he do that? To protect me from taking the.
I mean, you're gonna lose this queen, but so is he. So like, why wouldn't you?
Why did he move his bishop?
That was a very confusing move.
Isn't the queen the better chess piece?
Yeah.
Because it can move anywhere in any direction?
Yeah. I don't know why he ran the bishop away to try to save it, and he did. He saved the bishop. Good job. Mission accomplished, I guess.
Mm.
Let's take that pawn.
Oh, here?
Don't get overly complicated.
Can't I then do that?
You could. It's not what I would do. So now we're back into this potential fork situation.
Okay.
Because knights are super neat in their ability to create very cool forks.
So I can move him. You're talking about me moving my knight here?
What would happen if you moved your knight there?
And arrow thing. Arrow thing. If I move my knight here, it the bishop can't take it because the bishop can only move diagonally. I could be taken by the king, but if he moves his king here, it puts him in check from my pawn, right?
What?
The king can move in any direction,
No, yeah.
right? So if I
Yeah.
move my knight here and he decides to
Mm-hmm.
use the king to take that, then doesn't
Mm.
that put his king in check with my pawn?
How?
Oh, right, because the pawn can only take diagonally. Shut up, Becky. Well, I'm learning.
I know.
God.
That's why I asked.
Okay.
It's making sure that you get there. That's the whole point.
So he can, if I move my knight here, he can only take my knight with the king or the rook, correct?
Correct.
Because the bishop and the knight and his pawn can't do anything.
Correct.
So if he moves the rook,
So you've already proven that if you move your knight there, all you're doing is throwing away a knight.
right. B6 looks tasty for the knight too.
So then let go of that space as a potential, and look at the other spaces the knight can attack.
Well, Aaron just said to look at B6.
Aaron would be correct. Why is B6 good?
Because the pawn can't do anything.
Correct.
Um, the rook can't do anything.
Correct.
Either rook can't do anything.
Correct.
But it also holds all of those in position.
So what pieces would your knight be threatening sitting at B6?
The rook,
Mm-hmm.
the bishop,
Mm-hmm.
and the other rook. And
Correct.
essentially, any of those pieces move, then the king is in check.
Incorrect.
Oh, well,
That's not the goal of this move.
it's just to keep the other things from moving.
No. The goal of this move is to take a piece, preferably an important piece, without losing your piece.
Okay.
So how does that accomplish that?
Well, if I move here, I can take the pawn. He'll just take. What?
We're not talking about the pawn.
I don't. What? What? Why are you laughing at me?
Let's look at the knight. Pay attention to the knight. Only pay attention to the knight.
So the knight, what can he do after he's there?
Yeah.
Well, he
We
can.
literally just talked about this.
I know.
What squares
He
is he
can take.
threatening?
Shush. He can take the A8 rook, right?
Mm-hmm.
He can also then take the D7 rook.
Mm-hmm.
He can take the C8 bishop.
Mm-hmm.
And those latter two moves would then put the king in check.
From what?
The knight.
How?
This should be in the same file. Rank. Sorry, that's rank. This is file.
Try that again.
No, I'm not.
How would that put the king in check?
Because the
This is
piece would
important
be,
because you.
no, I just
This is important
explained
because you
it.
need to understand what you can actually do with check and how you put the king into check. How is the knight? If the knight is sitting, if you take the bishop with the knight, so the knight is now sitting on c8, right?
Right.
How is the king in check?
He's not because he can just take my knight.
Well, that's half true. He can just take your knight. Why is he not in check?
Because he can still make other moves and not lose.
No. Why is he not in check?
But isn't the point of check that there are no other moves that the king can make and win the game?
That is checkmate.
So check is
Check. All check means is that the king is threatened.
okay.
So why, if your knight is in c8, is the king in check? Where do you think the king is in check?
He's well, I mean he's not because there's not a clear line for anything to get to him.
Correct. So it's sort of scrub that part from your brain because you
Okay.
sort of got weirdly attached to that falsity
But you still think this is a good move.
because it forks 3 different pieces. So regardless of what piece he moves, you're getting, at the very least, a rook. And now you're getting a rook for free. Because if you had to take a rook or his bishop, you probably would have lost your knight. But now you can take the other rook and still keep your knight. And get a second fork, probably. Oh, you're in check. That's annoying.
Yeah.
I would just move your king.
On the diagonal or just to H?
Doesn't matter. She still gets a rook. Oh no, a pawn. Now take that rook.
Oh, a knowable universe. Which rook? The rook guarding the king?
So you want to take the rook that does not end up with your knight being taken.
So I want to take the A8 rook.
Why?
Because if I took the D7 rook, his bishop and king can take my knight.
Correct. Correct.
Oh, he just took my queen.
He did, but that was sort of I mean, he's sacrificing his other rook.
Because I can just take the rook with my rook, right?
Yep. Well, that was a little bit of a blunder. It's not that bad of a blunder. The computer's not worried about it. So now you have this fun opportunity to return your knight where he is. And now you can like run his king around.
Oh, right, because nobody can take me there. Well, the king can take me, right?
Where?
Well, you just said to return my knight.
Right, to where he was. And that's
Oh,
not where he was.
it was down here. B6, right?
Yeah. Oh, his knight's protecting that. Maybe that's not a good idea.
I was going to say
I
can't
mean,
I?
ultimately, right now you just want to clear his bishops. His bishops are just sort of being annoying, either by removing the rest of the pawns or by directly attacking the bishops.
How would I? I can't directly attack him because he's.
Not this turn, no.
Oh,
But you can set up to attack it in the future. You could also start a pawn march.
right. Oh.
So you now need to protect that corner.
Right.
Um, hmm. The correct move in this would have been to move your knight to f1, because that would have kept his king from moving. But now you need to either move that, you need to either advance that pawn forward one, but he's going to take it anyway. Nope. That one got mucked up. Dead pawn.
Well, what's this pawn doing? He's not doing anything.
He's not doing anything, but he has one move and then he gets taken.
By the bishop.
Yeah. But now that the king's gone, you can get a free bishop. Because that king was protecting the bishop. Oh, nope. That
No,
knight's
I
protecting
can't.
the bishop.
Yeah, and I can't move my bishop because he'll just take it with his bishop. To take
Oh,
that
now
pawn.
you could move your knight back. See if you could do a little trade. Because you can either move that bishop and attack his king with your rook.
What?
Nothing. I need to just let you play. I'm sorry. Because the point now is to either take the rest of his pieces, right?
Right.
Or to put his king into check. Your other knight's in sort of a weird spot. Your knight that's in the corner has a place to move where he could take an important piece. That's now unguarded. Well, sort of unguarded.
He would just move it, wouldn't he, though?
He could, but then doesn't that open up your rook?
Yeah. So you think I should do...
No, that square is dead square. That does you no good.
Then you're talking about this other knight?
I am not talking about the other knight.
Well, then what the H are you talking about? Move him back
Well,
here?
where can you move your knight to threaten the bishop?
Here. Over one... No. Up one over two. So here.
Mm-hmm.
So he moved the king to protect the bishop.
He did,
That's
which
weird.
gives your pawn some room.
Bang-a-rang.
Don't leave him there.
Don't leave who there?
Don't leave your pawn there.
Where are you going with the king?
And so now you can do some fun shenanigans with like setting up to take his bishops. Just don't attack on diagonals. With the queen. I'm talking about the queen.
Oh.
Just don't set up on diagonals.
Like that, right?
Mm-hmm. And now you just get to start picking up pieces. Get him.
So I should... Who?
That knight
Should I take him with my queen or my knight?
with your queen. Because they, oh, yeah, either, I mean, really either one, but the queen is the more assertive of the pieces. So now you're mate in two, I think. Oh, no, because he went, oh, okay. So close. So this is where you start chasing the king with rooks and your queen. Do you know which pieces are your rooks?
Right. Oh, like this?
Well, because you don't want to keep putting him in check because you want to force him into the corner.
Right.
So you were close, but how can you force the king to move back to the 8 rank? I mean, I'll just tell you, the way you want to force him is by restricting where he can move.
Right.
So you don't want him moving into the 6 rank. So what should you do with the rook?
Move him to the 6 rank?
Correct. I would deal with that bishop. Nope. Yeah.
All right, move her all the way here.
Nope.
Oh, because
So
he can take her.
You want to
Right,
force
you're
him
just right without
back
being.
into the 8 rank. And I can tell you that you want to move on a diagonal, not straight down. Because what you're trying to set up is you're trying to set up the king to move back into the 8 rank, and then your next move wants to be a rook to move into the 8 rank.
So if I move her down here, right?
If you move him down there, the king is just going to move to f7. So you want to move your queen somewhere so that the king has to move to the 8 rank, right?
But I don't want to move in a place where he can just take my queen, right?
Right.
So why wouldn't that be a good move?
It's not that it wouldn't be a good move. It's just not. It just doesn't. It extends the game longer than it needs to be. Because right now you're mate in 2. If you move it there, it'll continue to be mate in 2. So you want to move your queen into such. So here are your 2 objectives. You're moving the queen so that you put the king in check, and the only place he can move is into the 8 rank.
So if I move her here,
Mm-hmm.
he can still, well, no, because then he has to deal with the knight.
Incorrect. I mean, correct, but not. That's not why he can't move into the 6 rank. Why can't he move
Oh,
into the 6 rank?
because my dingleberry
Because
is
of your
there.
rook. Yeah. So your goal is to move your queen move in such a way that he forces him to the 8 rank and doesn't block your rook. Because if you can force him into the 8 rank, you have checkmate next turn.
So I just move. Do I move my rook to the end or the queen up?
What do you think?
So if I move the rook to the end,
Where can the king move to get out of that?
he can move over one.
Yep. And you are mate in 1. So there is a checkmate in this next move. You just have to find it.
And if I move her, I can't. I can move her to f7
You could.
or up to e8,
Mm-hmm.
but he can still move.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to move the rook.
You do want to move the rook.
Do I want to move the rook just to g6?
No.
Why?
What does that do? Does that checkmate the king?
Well, he can't move because if he moves into g8, like he can't because he's in check.
I think that's a draw. I don't think that's checkmate.
Why wouldn't that be checkmate? He can't move. He can't move himself
Because
into.
the king is not in check. Because the following turn, the king is not taken. I think that's technically a draw. Let me look that up. I'm not the first person to ask that question. Yeah, it's a stalemate. It's considered a draw.
So nobody
If the
wins.
if the king has no legal moves, but the king is not in check, the game will end in a stalemate draw. So you could force a draw, which really doesn't help anyone except your
No.
opponent.
Right? Well, that's stupid.
But you still have one move that puts him into checkmate.
Is it the knight? I thought it was the rook.
It is the rook. You are getting very tunnel visioned on where you think this rook should go.
Well,
Click on the rook.
so he can go up or over.
Correct. What are the advantages to both directions?
So if I move him to the 8 rank,
Hmm.
he can still. Oh no, he can't move down because if he moves down, my queen can take him.
Hmm.
Oh, so that's it.
That is it. The king, queen, 7, 8 rank is one of the most common checkmates
Really?
because it's like he can't go anywhere. Because once you get the king back into the 8 rank, you only need 2. You can do this exact same thing with 2 rooks.
Mm,
Because once you get locked into that corner and you remove the ability to move into the 7 rank, there's nothing else you can do.
mm. All right, kids. That we did 2 games, each probably about an hour.
That was good. That was real good.
It's good. I have
Look at you getting 700 ranked opponents.
I have managed to beat a 400 level computer and a 700 level computer. I don't necessarily know how. I still, whatever, I'm learning. I have help. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, that is our show. I hope you all have a great rest of your Saturday. Please, be certain to mask up when going out into public spaces. Please social distance. Please wash your hands. And above all, just stay home. Play video games. That's what we're doing. We're staying home playing video games, right?
Yep.
Yep. So yeah, I'm totally ready for yeah, by the math, right? Sure. Thanks, Aaron. Thanks for tuning in. It's always nice to have friends reconnect and connect while we're streaming. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow afternoon from noon to 3. Diva will be what are you streaming tomorrow?
I think we'll be playing more Sea of Thieves.
So tune in for possibly some Sea of Thieves tomorrow afternoon from noon to 3 here on our Facebook Live. Is that what we're doing? Streaming on
Yes.
Facebook? Yeah, we're streaming on
Yep.
Facebook. So enjoy all those amazing Bernie Sanders mittens memes that I cannot get enough of. I think they're great. Love Bernie Sanders. Big shocker there, right? Anyone who's not tuned in to our lives or our YouTube channel at all. And do that too. If you're interested in learning more about us or whatever, check out our YouTube, the Taculars. We're on the Facebooks, and obviously because we're here right now, and Twitter and Instagram when I remember to post things there. So you can find us on the major socials. And yeah, hope you all have a great rest of your weekend. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.